Hello, everyone.
I'm Megan.
I'm Dwayne.
And we are the Blended Family Marriage Coaches. That's who we are and what we do. If you're new here, now you know. So our tagline is, marriage is hard. Blended family marriages are harder.
For sure.
And this affects every area of our lives, including and even the sex and intimacy in our blended family marriage. And we're not afraid to talk about it. So stick around.
Here we are.
That's what we're going to talk about. Is we're actually going to play a fun game. Well, not really. We're not going to play a fun game, but I'm kind of basing today's video idea off of a fun game that I like to play. So stay tuned and you guys will see what I'm talking about. For the best advice in your blended family marriage, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It should be right there, right below me. Ring the bell.
Ding dong.
So that way you don't miss a single video that we publish. We publish these on Tuesdays. We do this at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is actually 8 p.m. Central Time, and for those of you all the way over there on the East Coast, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You get to watch us right before you go to bed or first thing when you wake up. We cover all kinds of things. We talk about boundaries within your blended family marriage. We talk about intimacy, like today within your blended family marriage. We talk about finances in your blended family marriage. We have parenting advice. We talk about everything on our channel.
All kinds of stuff.
Thank you guys for watching this video. We are so excited to bring another video on intimacy out to you guys. So I promised you guys that we'd talk about a game. If you've ever done any kind of icebreaker with me at all, you're very familiar with this game. It's called Two Truths and One Lie. So basically what it is everybody in the group comes up with two truths and one lie about them, and then you have to guess which one's the lie, and it's a ton of fun. But this time we're going to do two truths and one lie about sex in your blended family marriage.
That's good.
We're going to talk about sex and intimacy. I separate those. I don't think that sex equals intimacy or intimacy equals sex. I think a lot of times intimacy leads to sex, but those are not two interchangeable words. The first truth about sex in your blended family marriage is frequency matters. We discussed this in a video that we've done previously. I'll go ahead and put a link to it up above, right above my head usually is where they end up. Within this truth is also a lie. A lie that we hear all the time is that the men always have a higher sex drive, and that's not necessarily the case. We have found that very rarely are the sex drives within a marriage completely compatible.
Right.
Usually one spouse or the other would, if you were to ask them, what frequency would you expect to have sex in your marriage? How many times a week? Whatever. The answer would be different if it's the male or the female. But the male doesn't always have the higher sex drive. So frequency does matter. And it's okay, women, if you have a higher sex drive than your husband. That is okay. The thing is here that I want to encourage you to do is to compromise. And this is so hard, but you have to compromise. So bear with me. So let's say that the husband wants sex 4 times a week. He says that 4 times a week would be his ultimate favorite. That would be plenty. That would be enough. That would satisfy him. But the wife wants maybe once or twice a week. And what the object of this is to compromise and schedule intimacy times 3 days a week. You guys are not scheduling sex. I hate the way that sounds. It sounds very pressure filled. However, if you guys can set aside half an hour 3 times a week, half an hour 4 times a week, whatever that compromise number is for intimacy. Oftentimes intimacy leads to sex. So there are rules during intimacy, and we have taught on this a ton. I will find some of that material and put it below. Some of the rules are: get the TV out of the bedroom. Turn off the TV during this half hour of scheduled intimacy time that you guys have within your marriage. No phones, just certain rules like that during this time. So the first truth with a lie is frequency matters, and the husband doesn't always have the higher sex drive. So make sure that you guys come to a compromise here and schedule a time at least. I would say you need to schedule this time at least twice a week. One of them can be date night, and that can be a scheduled intimacy time. And the other time is just intimacy for half an hour, whatever you can squeeze into your week. And that is devoted specifically to only intimacy. So just because we are the blended family marriage coaches doesn't mean that we're the only ones that hear these truths and lies
Right.
about intimacy. Let us know in the comments, what are common truths or myths or misconceptions that you hear about blended family marriage sex, and how does it affect your marriage? How does it affect your intimacy? We truly are curious. Let us know in the comments below. So the second truth that is very hard to wrap our minds around in, and that it's unique to a blended family dynamic. And that is that the past matters. And that's so hard because Dwayne and I, as Christians, we believe that sex outside of marriage is considered adultery, and that is a sin. And you should only have sex within those confines. So in a perfect world, you should only know or experience your current spouse. Well, we don't live in the perfect world in a blended family. By nature of our family, we have had previous relationships and previous sexual relationships. And oftentimes that plays a huge factor in our current marriage. Really, and there are things that you need to do intentionally in order to make sure that that doesn't cause a rift or problems within your current marriage. So things like, how did your previous spouse perform or not perform? How did your previous spouse show intimacy or not show intimacy? What were some of your favorite moments with your previous spouse? So those are all things that play a factor into our current sexual relationship, and they need to be addressed in order to move forward. So another truth is that measuring stick needs to be broken. There should be no measuring stick that you are comparing your current spouse to. There should be nothing. You should not be able to hold up this guide of, this is how it is because this is how it was. So this is how you measure up. And whether it's better or worse, it doesn't matter. There should not be a measuring stick that your current spouse is having to live up to unless it is a measure that your current spouse has implemented. So if I can kind of explain that, if right now things aren't great in your marriage, you can't say that they were better before if they truly weren't in your marriage. If they were better before in a previous relationship, that doesn't matter. That yardstick, that measuring device is gone. It's out the window. But if they were better before than in your current marriage, then that's a yardstick that you could hold your current spouse to. If there was a time in your life when you felt like the intimacy was clicking, maybe during the honeymoon phase when it felt like you guys couldn't keep your hands off of each other, those are things to hold your current spouse accountable to and say, this is the measuring stick that we're going to use on whether or not our intimacy levels are good or whether or not our sex life is healthy. Using previous relationships to compare to your current one isn't fair to either of you. There is a reason why that relationship failed, and I'm not saying it had anything to do with the sex life or the intimacy or anything like that, but you never want to compare your current spouse to that previous relationship. Ever, whether it's a good comparison or a bad comparison, whether your previous spouse is so much better and shows intimacy so much better towards you, it doesn't matter. The fact is that your spouse is showing you good intimacy and they are meeting your needs well. It doesn't matter that they're doing it better. They're doing it well. Because if there's a better, then there's a standard that was set by somebody else other than your spouse. And that's not fair to your spouse.
So we've talked about the two truths.
Yes, truth number 1 was frequency matters, and truth number 2 was past matters. Or really, it doesn't matter, you need to throw it away. So what's the lie?
So the lie is sex doesn't matter. I think so often in marriages, we like to believe that lie. We like to think that sex really doesn't matter. But sex really is that intimate time for you to really connect with your spouse. And so, don't believe the lie. Don't think that, that once a month is good enough type of a lie, because it really isn't. It really does matter. It matters because, like I said, that's the time when you're connecting with your spouse.
Sex matters in marriage, and this is so important because Dwayne and I have always said that the purpose of our marriage is to show our kids what a good, strong, healthy marriage looks like. And without getting gross with our kids or inappropriate with our kids, our goal is to gross out our kids. They need to see that we do enjoy each other. They don't need to see that we're enjoying each other, but they need to see that we do enjoy each other. They need to see that sex is a healthy thing when done in the confines of marriage. They need to not have that shame or that question about whether or not it's appropriate to do with our spouse. There's so many things that we can teach by having a healthy sex life
Right.
to even our children. So don't be afraid to lock the door and hide away for a couple nights a week. Don't wonder what they're going to think. Hope that they think that sex
Right.
is healthy. Hope that they think that this is okay. Obviously, there are boundaries here,
Right.
and it's a sensitive subject because you don't want to in any way abuse your children mentally or sexually and make them in a question appropriateness or appropriateness with your spouse. So there are strong boundaries here. If they can hear you, it's probably a little bit inappropriate, but there's ways to avoid that. Turn on the shower, turn on the TV, muffle the sound. If you have a noisy bed, make some compromises there. Maybe you need to put your bed on the floor and take it off the bed frame. There are some things that you pull it away from the wall. There's some things that you can do so that your children don't necessarily need to know that you're having sex, but at the same time, they need to know that you have sex. They need to see what a healthy, strong marriage relationship looks like. So don't hide this from your kids. We see this in the counseling realm a lot where sex becomes a shameful thing, and that happens when parents aren't willing to talk about it. When parents pretend like that has only happened as many times as I have children and it's only for procreation. That is not true. That's not true about sex, and we don't want to put that kind of shameful thing on our children so they carry that into their future marriages as well. So 2 truths. Frequency matters. The history matters, and a lie, sex doesn't matter, because it does. And I know this sounds weird, but sex matters to a lot of people. Your marriage matters to a lot of people, and having a healthy, happy marriage in all areas, sexually, intimately, all of those areas is so important to so many people. So remember that when you're taking one for the team, when you and your spouse connect in a sexual and an intimate level. Are you struggling with the intimacy or maybe your sex life in your blended family marriage? We believe that working with us through one of our programs can absolutely help the intimacy in your blended family marriage. We even have a 5-day challenge to improve the intimacy in your blended family marriage. If you want information on any of these resources, please click the link below and schedule a call with us. We would be so happy to chat with you about some of the programs that we have available. Just by clicking that link, you would schedule a 45-minute consultation with Dwayne and I, and we would talk about your specific situation. We encourage you to set this time aside with your spouse. We want to talk to you both and kind of get a gauge on where you feel. So click that link below. We would love to chat with you. So guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Every subscriber means so much to us, and we love interacting with you guys, especially in the comments. Like this video if you liked this video, and ring the bell.
Ding dong.
So that way you don't miss a single episode from us, the Blended Family Marriage Coaches. Thanks again for tuning in. We sure love you guys. See you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.